at 21. Weight is 135.8. So I'm back down to my original goal. Throughout this weight loss experiment, I began at around 135 and I began eating tons of fruit and I dropped weight. And then as soon as I added cooked foods and processed foods back into my diet, my weight shot back up over to my original weight of 135. I shot back up to like 140, or over 140. Again, I'm 5'9" tall, so if you're looking at me and you think, wow, she does not look like she weighs that much, I'm 5'9" tall, so that's why. And I have a very large muscle frame. So I have a lot of weight on me. I'm a big girl, so back to eating fruit and I'm losing weight again. So fruit is not fattening. And gonna eat some of this watermelon this morning. I've been eating tons of melon every day to stay hydrated. And I always buy the seeded watermelons because I think they taste better. I think these modified watermelons, I haven't done a whole lot of research about it, but that are modified to grow without seeds. There's just something artificial about that doesn't appeal to me. So I like the ones that come with seeds naturally, like they would normally. I realize there are some incidents in nature when a fruit will grow without seed. You know, anything is possible really in this crazy world. But I just think the seeded watermelons there's just something more natural to that I like better. And I think the taste and the texture is just always better. For the same reason, I do not buy seedless grapes. I can't find seeded grapes anywhere except for in the park. In the park the other day I was jogging and I stumbled upon some grapevines, which is really cool. So I got to eat some grapes that actually had seeds in them. And grape seed, the oil, the fat in grape seeds is very beneficial to the body. So and grape seeds are soft and chewable. You can chew them up. Just make sure you chew them really well before you swallow them. Got these beautiful coconuts, nice and light. This is a big one. It's another great way to stay hydrated, coconut water. That's a good one. Again, make sure you carve out the hole really wide and big so it'll just gush out. So if it just drips out, it just takes longer to drink and you don't get as good of a drink. Very good. read the nutrition information of coconut water. We all know that the coconut flesh is very rich in healthy fat and minerals like iron, and they have a good amount of protein, tons of calories, tons of energy. So let me just read the nutrition information of coconut water. I'm just going to nutritiondata.com. Lots of nutrients. And again, the water inside here is not coconut milk. Coconut milk is when you cut out all the pulp and you blend it with the water, and then you get this milky substance. Coconut water, liquid from coconuts, one coconut, about 206 grams. (1.5 grams of protein. So there's actually, you're getting protein when you drink coconut water. About 40 calories. 2.3 grams of dietary fiber. So we're getting into carbohydrates now. Starch is not recorded. I guess it's really low. When it just says 0, I'm assuming the starch is just so low that they're not even considering it. So not much starch in coconut water. Sugars, 5.4 grams of sugars. And a good amount of vitamin C, 4.9 milligrams. Just small amounts of all kinds of vitamins. So you get carbs, proteins, vitamins. But there's a good amount of calcium, 49.4 milligrams of calcium. Good amount of calcium, coconut water. Looks like there's more minerals than vitamins in coconut water. Lots of phosphorus, lots of potassium, 515 milligrams, lots of sodium. Again, healthy sodium from natural fruits and vegetables is a nutrient that you need. It's the processed table salt, the sodium chloride that chips and French fries are coated in, that causes people to have blood pressure problems. And then, of course, tons of water. 196 grams of water. Fatty acids. Total fat, 0.4 grams. So you're getting some fat in here. A little bit of saturated fat, 0.4 grams. Again, coconuts are almost purely saturated fat. But it's a healthy saturated fat. It's a saturated fat that keeps your body moisturized and your skin nice and plump. It prevents your skin from drying out because saturated fat is less susceptible to heat and light. It's not as easily damaged. It's much more durable, so it strengthens your skin and your nails and your hair and everything. Not fattening. It does all that, and it does not add extra weight to you. So you really have to distinguish between the saturated fat in a big piece of big slab of cow muscle and the saturated fat in a healthy coconut. Different effects on the body. So I'm just going to eat breakfast while I'm talking, or eat brunch while I'm talking to you. Got some cashews and some pistachios here, raw, unroasted, no salt. And sweet watermelon. Oops. This watermelon is really sweet and good. Okay, so the main thing that I wanted to talk about was cheese. How to get over cheese. I was a real big extra cheese type of person before I went vegan. I love cheese. I love nachos. I love slathering French fries with cheese and topping up jalapenos and tomatoes and, just cheese, cheese, cheese. Give me the cheese type of person. Cheese on everything. Cheese chips, Doritos. Oh, what else do they put cheese in? Cheese is in so many things. Lots of chips have cheese on them. Cheese powder, macaroni and cheese. I made that Kraft box of macaroni and cheese all the time. What else? Cheesecake. But cheese is basically just a form of milk. It's, just curdled cow milk. So yeah, I ate cheese on a lot of things before I went vegan. And the first day I decided to go vegan, I cut out meat that very night. I just dropped meat cold turkey. But I decided I would just finish off the milk that I had in the fridge, and any kind of dairy products I had in the kitchen, I would just finish those off and then, not buy any more. I was not as urgent about cutting out dairy because I was not aware about a lot of unpleasant things that I know now. For instance, if you're having trouble giving up your cravings for cheese, what I'm about to read should help you. At least it really helped me when I found out this information. Okay, so I'm just on discoverymagazine.com. Cheese is milk, mammal milk. Mammals produce milk, all mammals. Whales, humans, cows, pigs. We all produce milk. Cheese is milk that has been curdled and fermented by microbes. So everyone kind of already knows that cheese is solid milk, right? But just reading things like this will help you lose your cravings for it. Cheese is milk that has been curdled and fermented by microbes. Microbes are tiny little microorganisms. Microorganisms can be anything from fungus, bacteria, fungus. Even some kind of animals are classified as microorganisms. So they encompass all these different kinds of kingdoms, biological kingdoms. Basically, they're just tiny little one-celled or multiple-celled organisms that are so small. And there are macroorganisms too. So that's what a microbe is. It's a tiny little organism. Fermenting microbes are naturally present in raw milk. So even in raw milk of humans, of cows, of everything, there are natural microbes. But pasteurization, like I said in the earlier, pasteurization is heating. Pasteurization wipes them out along with the pathogens. That's why all the milk that we generally buy at the store is pasteurized to kill pathogens. That's also why people cook animals to kill pathogens. But pasteurization wipes them out along with the pathogens. In industrial countries today, most cheese is made from pasteurized milk to which the cheesemaker has then added back a few selected microbial cultures to do the fermenting. So typically, raw milk is fermented by these microbes, but when they pasteurize it, they kill these microbes. So they need to add some little things back in there to ferment the cheese. Ferment the milk into cheese. Added back a few selected microbial cultures to do the fermenting. But in France, they continue to make it, some types without pasteurization, arguing that the rich natural microbes add flavor to the cheese. So that's another thing I wanted to talk about, just thinking in terms of flavor. You have to start thinking in terms of health as well, not just flavor. Because I hear so many people, oh, I know it's bad for me, but I like the way it tastes. It tastes good. If you want to look good and feel good, you have to care more about taste, really. And you're not sacrificing anything, because all this stuff that I'm eating right now tastes delicious. Where was I? In the United States, pasteurization is required for all fresh or soft ripening cheeses, but it is still legal to use raw milk for hard cheeses such as cheddar that are aged for at least 60 days. So leaving milk out for 60 days. Now just think about this for a second. When you buy a carton of milk at a store, there's a little expiration date on it. And people generally do not like to drink milk after that expiration date. But think about what cheese is. Cheese is basically milk that has been sitting out to curdle and ferment and get old. And then you're putting that inside your body. All that oldness. It's not fresh at all. There's just a bunch of bacteria in there. It is still legal to use raw milk for hard cheeses such as cheddar that are aged for at least 60 days. And when you go to the store and you see cheese sitting on the shelf or Doritos in a bag that have been sitting on the shelf, how old do you think that cheese is? How old do you think that milk is that made that cheese? And that's what you're putting inside your body. It's very polluting. It's very old and it's just old milk that you're putting inside your body. Anytime you eat cheese or ice cream that you buy at the store, anything. Unless you're milking the cow right there and drinking it right there, it's not fresh. The Food and Drug Administration, however, is thinking of changing that, worried by the experimental evidence that certain strains of pathogenic bacteria, such as notorious E. coli, may survive even 60 days of aging. It is considering an outright ban on raw milk cheese. The American government has already pushed for this position in negotiations for international food standards, the so-called Codex Alimentarius, I don't know how you say that, Alimentarius, that are supposed to smooth international trade. It has met naturally with vigorous resistance from France, land of 400 cheeses, the finest of which are made of raw milk. When you eat such a cheese, you are eating an evolving ecosystem. There are billions of bugs in every bite. The evolution begins with bacteria that convert lactose, the sugar in milk, into lactic acid. This sours and curdles the milk. The protein suspended in it, called casein, clumps together to form solid curds that float in the liquid whey. So whey, I never knew what whey was until after I went vegan and began reading. Whey is the liquid part of the milk. So anything, if you read ingredients on anything and it says whey, it's got cow milk in it. Cow milk substances in it. Whey protein is the protein that is extracted from whey. The protein suspended in it, called casein, clumps together to form solid curds that float in the liquid whey. In many cheeses, the curdling is hastened by adding rennet, an enzyme preparation taken from the fourth stomach of calves, or made synthetically. So billions of bugs in every bite of cheese. So you're eating you're eating a lot of bugs when you eat cheese, when people eat cheese. So I did not know that. When I decided to just wean myself off dairy slowly, I did not know I was eating tons of bugs when I ate cow milk products. So, I don't know, to me that's very unappealing, and if I had known that, it would have been a lot easier to drop weight in one night like I did meat. Calves curdle their mother's milk so that it can pass through their intestines slowly for the nutrients in it to be absorbed. Some 5,000 years ago, humans started making cheese for practical reasons too. They found it takes longer to rot than milk does. They found cheese takes longer to rot than milk does. The good microbes help keep the bad ones in check. Meanwhile, those lactic acid generators foster other microbes that thrive in a sour environment and ripen in cheese, giving it taste and aroma. You've got bacteria, yeast, and surface-growing molds, says biochemist Pascal Malimard of Degussa Bioactives, which sells cultured microbes to cheesemakers. Those microorganisms break down Those microorganisms break down the proteins and lipids in the curd and use them as nutrients. And so the result is a large number of very small molecules which, being small, are volatile and pass into the atmosphere. It's the mixture of all those molecules that make up the aroma of cheese. Now, when you think of the aroma of cheese, is it generally pleasant? Or is it generally associated with something bad or offensive? Now, what do you want the inside of your body to be? Pleasant or bad and offensive? Just think about what you're eating when you eat cheese, when you're eating old milk. It's basically what it is, old sour milk. The mold penicillin, for instance, is what gives a camembert its mottled white rind. Camembert, I guess that's a type of cheese. I don't know if I'm saying that right. It sends enzymes into the interior of the cheese that break down the caseins into smaller molecules, which in turn propagate back to the surface and nourish the mold. So it's just this moldy pile of moldedness, and you're eating that. In the process, the interior of the cheese gradually changes from chalky paste to creeping ooze, and the camembert, especially a raw milk one, acquires a fungal aroma reminiscent of old tennis shoes. Okay, that's the author's opinion, or the writer's opinion. A closely related mold called Penicillium, using similar enzymes, achieves a completely different result, the blue color and tangy blue aroma of Roquefort. Not sure how you say that. I guess that's like in blue cheese. The blue part is mold. And this is another example of how people just throughout history just have conditioned their minds to think that eating mold is healthy and fine, and that eating dead animals is healthy and fine. When if you really stop to think about it logically, it's pretty ghastly. So people can influence each other to do crazy things. Okay, so that's the bugs in the cheese. You can read more about it yourself. And this is another thing that made me stop wanting. I'm not even going to finish this article. You basically get the point. There's tons of bugs in cheese. We have microorganisms everywhere in our gut, naturally healthy ones. But here's what I'm about to get to right here. Of course, E. coli and Listeria are part of nature too. Yet there is next to no evidence that these bugs have caused illness through aged raw milk cheeses as they do through contaminated meat. If you look at the epidemiologic data, there are very few outbreaks that involve cheese at all. says food microbiologist Catherine Donnelly of the University of Vermont. Particularly the aged, hard cheeses appear to be microbiologically safe. Even though cheese consumption is going up, outbreaks from those cheeses are not showing up in the epidemiologic literature. Ironically, the cheeses that have caused illnesses have often been made from pasteurized milk and then contaminated during processing. Pasteurization may actually create a more dangerous situation in that you knock out the competitive flora. The good bugs that help keep the bad bugs in check in a raw milk cheese are destroyed by pasteurization. So she's saying that, I think it's a she, pasteurization is actually not good, and all the milk that you buy at the store is pasteurized. Okay, so those are the cheese bugs. And there's also issues about mucus cells in cheese. Okay. Pus cells, actually. Okay. So there's also keep in mind everything that's in cow milk is generally found in human milk as well, just in different quantities, different levels, different formulations, because we're all different animals. Such as cholesterol. Cholesterol is also found in human milk. So we're getting cholesterol when we're babies. But it affects us differently. Okay, so I'm going to read about the pus cells that are found in milk. Okay, so another thing that helps me not want to eat any dairy products is finding out how badly dairy cows are abused in the dairy industry, which I never knew. I should probably make a whole video about that. So I didn't want to support an industry that abuses animals, and the dairy industry abuses animals. Dairy cows are also sent to be slaughtered for beef after they are used for milk. So they're not just allowed to live on the farm and grow old until they die. These farmers cannot afford to house and feed all these dairy cows until they die of natural age, so they send them off to be slaughtered for beef. Okay, this is nutritionfacts.org website. Let's see. The antiseptics used to disinfect cow teats can provide a source of iodine, but have been found to boost the levels of pus in the milk of cows with staph-infected udders. Yummy. Today's dairy cows endure annual cycles of artificial insemination, pregnancy, and birth, and mechanized milking for 10 out of 12 months, including 7 months of their 9-month pregnancies. This excessive metabolic drain overburdens the cows, who are considered productive for only 2 years and are slaughtered for hamburger when their profitability drops. Typically around their 4th birthday, a small fraction of their natural lifespan. Okay, trying to get to the... Okay. According to the new USDA data, the American milk supply averages 224,000 somatic cells per milliliter based on bulk tank samples taken from whole herds. Somatic cells is another word that is being used for pus cells. Subtracting the 200,000 that could be present in non-mastitic milk and subtracting the non-inflammatory fraction 10% leaves us to 21,600 neutrophils per milliliter, and multiplying that by the volume of milk in a cup comes out to be about 5 million neutrophils per cup. I don't know what a neutrophil is. Let's look that up. Neutrophil. So there's tons of bugs and tons of pus in all these cow milk products, cheese products. Okay, it's a white blood cell. Most abundant type of white blood cell. Okay. Then it depends on the cellular concentration of pus. Pus actually has more than 10,000 cells per microliter, but in purulent fluids, leukocyte count is commonly much lower than expected because dead cells or other debris account for much of the turbidity. As the dairy industry points out, the accumulation of pus is a natural part of an animal's defense system. So pus in itself isn't a bad thing. We just may not want to have it in our mouth. A study published in the Journal of Dairy Science found that cheese made from high somatic cell count, high pus cell count milk had both texture and flavor defects, as well as increased clotting time compared to milk conforming to the much more stringent European standards. The U.S. dairy industry, however, insists that there is no food safety risk. If the udders of our factory farm dairy cows are inflamed and infected, industry folks say it doesn't matter because we pasteurize and the pus gets cooked. But just as parents may not want to feed their children fecal matter in meat, even if it's eradicated fecal matter, they might not want to feed their children pasteurized pus. Michael Greger, MD. So how much pus is there in a glass of milk? Not much. 1 million cells per spoonful sounds like a lot, but pus is really concentrated. According to calculations based on USDA data released last month, the average cup of milk in the United States would not be expected to contain more than a single drop of pus. So pus is natural. Like I said, anything in cow milk is going to be generally present in human milk as well. So, humans have pus in our bodies everywhere. According to the USDA, 1 in 6 dairy cows in the United States suffer from clinical mastitis. Mastitis is infection of the udder and teat where it gets all inflamed and infected, which is responsible for 1 in 6 dairy cow deaths in the U.S. dairy farms. This level of disease is reflected in the concentration of somatic cells, pus cells, in the American milk supply. Somatic cell counts greater than 1 million per teaspoon are abnormal and almost always caused by mastitis. When a cow is infected, greater than 90% of the somatic cells in her milk are neutrophils, white blood cells, the inflammatory immune cells that form pus. So neutrophils are the inflammatory immune cells that form pus. The average somatic cell count in the U.S. milk per spoonful is 1,120,000. Okay, so there's a lot of sanitation issues with drinking cow milk. As with any large-scale mass production, little fine details are hard to cover, such as sanitation. And, people want to get things done and fast. And so they cut corners anywhere they can. And that would be the treatment of the animals and cleanliness, medical treatment to sick animals with mastitis. Basically, milk is coming out of these infected, inflamed udders and being put on the market. And they're saying it's fine because it's pasteurized. So that's all I'm going to read. Please read more for yourself. I'm just saying that's one of the things that helped me not want to eat it ever again. Reading about this stuff, and if I had known this initially, I would have dropped dairy in one night just like I did animal meat. So, Do growing children need to drink cow milk? No, they do not. My mother raised me on cow milk. She raised me on meat. Most people are. And I'm still here. I'm not suffering from any kind of crazy illness or anything. However, I always ate my fruits and veggies too. Very important. Fruits and veggies will combat. They will fight the effects of meat and dairy. So luckily I always had some healthy eating habits as well. And probably helped me stay healthy. But no, growing children, they do not need to drink cow milk to be healthy. Mothers should breastfeed their children for as long as possible. And after children are weaned off the breast milk, they don't have to continue drinking cow breast milk, because they're not cows, they're humans, and there's no need for it. Calcium and iron and protein and healthy fat is all found in fruits and vegetables. So that's all they need to eat. After a child is weaned off the breast, he doesn't need to continue drinking cow mammal milk. I mean, just think about it. It's perfectly logical. Lots of people now, more and more people are changing their diet and going vegan and having babies. And I know lots of people who have vegan babies that are beautiful and perfectly healthy, and as well as vegan children who grow up with no additional animal products other than the breast milk they were fed when they were babies. So, but again, don't listen to me. Go out and research for yourself. It's everywhere. Go to the library, go online, talk to doctors, scientists, anybody you know about it. And all these puzzle pieces are floating around. You just got to take the puzzle pieces and put the puzzle together, and you will see the big picture. It's out there. And plainly obvious. Okay? So just read about it yourself, study about it yourself. That's what helped me not ever want to eat nachos again. And there are plant-based cheeses out there on the market, but again, they're processed foods, so I'm not going to promote them. If you want to make your own fresh nut-based cheese or whatever at home, go for it. But I would not recommend any processed foods that are filled with additives and preservatives and things like that. Whatever you're going to do, try to make it fresh at home. Would always be better. Okay, so it's very easy. Life after cheese is fine. It's wonderful. Also, cheese is so fattening. Any kind of dairy product is so fattening. So, two great steps would be to cut out all the sugary drinks, just drink water, and cut out all dairy, and your weight will. But again, don't replace those things with just other processed foods that don't have dairy in it. Like, it doesn't really do any good to stop eating Kraft mac and cheese, but start buying this other kind of box cheese that was made from something else that's filled with all other kinds of artificial things, preservatives and additives. Because that's still probably going to keep weight on you. For example, when I first went vegan, I dropped about 10 pounds in 1 week because I was so freaked out about food and really just not eating very much. And then once I calmed down, I started going to the grocery store, and when I first started out on my vegan diet, I was eating a lot of dairy-free bread, dairy-free cookie, dairy-free this and that, basically a junk food vegan diet. I gained all my weight back, and I got back up to the level I was at when I was eating meat and dairy. So that proved to me that even on a vegan diet, if you're still eating a diet high in processed foods, packaged foods, I have some examples here. I have some box examples here. If you're still eating a diet high in packaged processed foods like this, you're not going to lose much weight, or you're going to maintain your weight. So does what you're eating I have lots of samples here. Does your cabinet, is it filled with stuff like this, just boxes and bags? Or is what you're eating whole foods? Is it nice and bright and colorful, and does it actually grow on a plant? This is what will keep you slim. This is what's going to make you large. Large, slim. Okay? So if you eat mostly this stuff or all of this stuff, you'll be slim. If you eat mostly that stuff or diet high in that stuff, it's easier to bulk out and maintain a heavy weight. So, and again, you're not missing out with fruit. Fruit is delicious. You just have to start eating it. Get your mind to transition those cravings for salt, super salty, super sweet, to natural flavors. Okay, I mean, it's delicious. And another thing, this will cause stomach aches and vomiting sometimes if you eat too much of it. This will not cause stomach aches and vomiting. This will soothe your stomach. Okay? I know, I've gotten plenty of stomach aches from not eating right. So, again, it's just a choice you have to make, but it's really easy once you get going. You just have to, the more you eat healthy food, the more you will crave healthy food. And that stuff will just look like a big stomach ache when you look at it. Okay, so try cutting back on the dairy or eliminating it. It's really easy. I just decided, I don't need cheese in my life. I don't need milk in my life. I'm a grown adult. I don't need milk. I'm not a baby anymore. So, and I don't even bother with making plant-based milk. I mean, I think I'm fine with it, but it's just a hassle. It takes time, and I don't bother with it. I have a sample of store-bought milk here. I would not recommend this. I don't think this is healthy. This is a processed product. Let me read the ingredients. So all it says on the front is all natural blue diamond almonds, almond breeze, original, lactose-free, soy-free. You flip it over. Almond milk, filtered water almonds, evaporated cane juice, calcium carbonate, sea salt, potassium citrate, carrageenan, sunflower lecithin, vitamin A palmitate, vitamin D2, and D-alpha tocopherol, natural vitamin E, blah, blah, blah. It's like, what was that? What are those things? I have no idea. I would have to research all that. So lots of weird additives and ingredients and just artificiality in this. So I would not recommend cutting out one processed food and going to just a plant-based processed food. You have to be on a healthy plant-based diet, not just a junk food plant-based diet. Big difference. A junk food plant-based diet will not help you get lean and thin and healthy. So if you want to be lean and healthy, you have to eat whole foods and lots of raw foods. And eat this stuff very little. However, if you need to drink this stuff to wean yourself off dairy, I would say do it. Anything to get off dairy. But just don't drink, I wouldn't drink this all day, every day. Limit it. Okay, and it's easy. You don't have to jump off the cliff in one night. Just gradually dip your toes into the pool and just submerge yourself into eating healthy however you can. It can take a few months. It can take a few years. I've only been vegan for about 1.5 years, and I'm still figuring out what's best for me. So it just takes time. Don't expect to just be this perfect, supermodel overnight. It's not going to happen. It takes some time. Just be patient and determined. And the number one thing is you have to want it. Okay?